To take us through where we stand, I'm joined by my colleague, NBC News political correspondent Steve Kornacki. Steve, break it down for us.
Yeah, Kristen, I guess you could say there's consensus, but the consensus is on how fundamentally divided we are as a country. Again, you showed this a minute ago. This isn't even about issues. This is just about the basic values we have as Americans. Do you think we're united or greatly divided on those values? 8 out of 10 saying we are greatly divided on values. And this cuts across party lines. You can see it right here. Democrats, Republicans, independents, very few of any of them say we are united on values. And just to put this in some context, it doesn't have to be this way. It wasn't always this way. This right here, you're looking at numbers right after 9/11. Obviously, that's an extreme moment in our history. But again, look at the unity the country was feeling at that moment. And, 2 decades later, look how far those numbers have descended since 9/11. So some context, some perspective there. And again, you get to the issue then of how each side of the divide looks at each other. And again, what you see here are numbers that tell you this goes beyond policy differences. This goes beyond just basic disagreements about issues. You're asking each party about what they think of the other party. So you're asking Democrats, do you think that Republicans respect democratic institutions? Not many Democrats say that about Republicans. Not many Republicans say that about Democrats. Do you think the other party governs honestly? Almost no Democrats, almost no Republicans say that about the other party. You see it here, too, on the question of tolerating different types of people. So the view that each side has of the other, it's deep, deep suspicion, hostility between the two parties, between the two sides of the divide. How does this play out in our elections? How did it play out in November? We talk about the different demographic divides that have been driving elections now. Gender, one of them. This goes back decades. We've really had a gender gap since 1980. In this election, Trump winning men by 12, Harris winning women by 8, a gender gap of 20 points. Third straight election, the gender gap was at least 20 points. We see it on marriage. Married voters, heavily for Trump. Unmarried, heavily for Harris. We see it among white voters, not so much yet with non-white voters. We're keeping an eye on that. College degree. Without a degree, Trump wins by 34 points. White voters with a degree, Harris by 8. An enormous gap right there. And then you could take a look right here as well in terms of how this would look on the map. These are all the counties in the country. This is over 3,100 counties, and you think of those demographic divides, Trump cleaning up with blue-collar voters, white voters without college degrees. You see that in a lot of rural areas, a lot of small population counties all over the country. Look at all of that red. Meanwhile, Democrats doing well with voters with college degrees, suburbanites, city dwellers. So you see the Democratic base is much more narrow geographically in sort of population-dense areas. That's what the divide looks like there, and you just see within this, look at this, the number of blowout counties where there's at least a 50-point margin in the presidential race, a 4-fold increase in the last generation. We could reduce this, though, to a very microscopic level, precinct level. These are areas within cities and towns. We might have found the two most polar opposite demographically precincts in the country. I just want to show you them here. One is Hyde Park, Chicago. This is upscale. This is where Barack Obama's from. High median income. Everyone has a college degree, a high school degree. Look at this. More than 3/4 have a postgraduate degree in this precinct. Harris wins it overwhelmingly. Other side of the divide here, take a look here. This is Panther, West Virginia, McDowell Colony, one of the poorest in the country. You can see here, not even half the residents with a high school diploma, nobody with a college degree here. And Donald Trump wins this by 92 points. Totally, totally far apart. If there's one silver lining maybe we could see when it comes to polarization, though, just quickly, it is this. There is less overall racial polarization coming out of this election. Go back to 2016. Trump won white voters by 20. Clinton back then won non-white by 53. That was a 73-point gap. This time, 15-31. The racial gap narrowed this election. Donald Trump did much better with Latino voters, Asian American voters. We do have less racial polarization, but we still overall, Kristen, obviously have a ton of polarization.
Yeah, the numbers really tell the tale of just how divided we are. Steve Kornacki, thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.